Good afternoon, everyone. Today's video is going to focus on crime gun use in Chattanooga. This is a project that's going on with Dr. Rick Darenfeld over at UTC. We have some grad students there working on it and an intern here within the Casdell lab at U of A. Looking at the data, coding it, cleaning it, and the intern here did make a pretty cool video in Excel of how to show multiple uses of the same gun across the city of Chattanooga. So I'm going to highlight some ways to do that. I haven't done it. She's already made a video that I'll show here briefly. But I'm going to walk through some of the steps to clean up the data set with how we currently have it to get it in a fashion that we could use for the similar display that she did. What you see in front of you, each row is a unique gun, and as we go across, you can kind of see at the top the different headers of related to the use of it. The key parts that we're going to focus on mostly today: incident location and date. The longest one in terms of use had 11 different ones that were known. Keep in mind, these are known uses of the same gun across multiple incidents. Doing some really cool stuff with time between different ones that are known. Haven't touched this much. Actually, the green ones are same day kind of thing. So really cool data set that I'm really looking forward to get into. We have a few different papers in mind and different analysis approaches with it. Before it, really the main part that I'm going to go through of try to recreate some of what was done here is actually made a nice video of, you can see across the top of the header as time progresses kind of how that gun moved around, and we can slow it down. I'll get into this a bit more in Excel, but she displayed two different guns and where they're occurring in Chattanooga. So you can see there are some similar areas, some moving pretty far across the city. I'll do a few different things. I believe this was her first go around with even making the video, getting into mapping within Excel. So we'll make a how-to guide step by step. She'll work on that next. But for now, I'm going to try to recreate something similar to what she did with the same data set. I'm just going to pull one gun out. To do that, I'm just going to pull the one that had 11 incidents. So I know at the top we have all of our headers. So if I do a sort, I'm going to do our last one, so I'm going to sort by our last date. And with that, it doesn't matter if it's older to newest. I just want ones that have information there. So you see we actually had two different firearms that were used in at least 11 known incidents in Chattanooga. I'm going to pull out this first one. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste this into a new cell, but the key part I'm going to change is I want to transpose the data. So it was going across the headers. I want it to actually be rows now. So it changes where the data being displayed. And for our purposes, all I'm interested in are the dates and corresponding incidents locations. So with that, the gun number, I'm going to just go ahead and put across each one of these fields, because that remains constant. I'm not interested right now in terms of multiple gain use and all that kind of stuff. I just want to display where these are actually being used. So I'm going to delete all these. I could have saved the last one, but I'm going to go in, insert. It's going to be gun, location, and date. So this is where you got to clean it up a few different ways. And if you're familiar with Excel, I'm just going to copy and paste a bunch of these dates over so they're across from the corresponding address. And I left a blank column in there because I'm going to actually have to add in the city and state, just so when I map it in Excel, it picks up Chattanooga, Tennessee versus any other city area that has the same street name. So within that, I can now go through and all these rows that have a date on them. And I'm just highlighting. There's other ways to go ahead and go through and delete these, but since there's not a ton of them, it doesn't take that long to highlight those, right click, delete those out. So location wise, I need to concatenate, and there's a few different ways to combine or merge them together. All I'm going to do now is a quick concatenate. There's text before, text join, all that kind of stuff. I still have my old school way of doing it. So concat, and I want to pull in the address followed by, and this is where it's going to be comma, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Close it off. Oops, I forgot to put the quotes at the end. And now when we do it this way, we have the street address followed by the city and the state. Double click so that goes all the way down. I'm going to copy and paste these so it gets rid of the formula itself. And now we're good. I'm going to delete this. And since this has a B in it, I'm going to go ahead and just clean it up. That's probably an apartment number, or if it's a duplex, B part to it. So now we know the gun. It's all the same because it's the same gun. We just separate it and change it to the address and also the date occurring. So you can see it's only 1 year-ish just about. So it started in December of 2015 and was used through, recovered at some point. What would that be? June, July, August. July 5th, 2016. Apologies on the delay. It's been a longer day than I imagined. Highlight this data set. I'm going to hop up into Insert. And this is where the big difference, talked about it before. For PC, you have 3D map option. Open 3D map. And yes, I still have my slow ass computer, so it's not actually going to close on me. It's just taking a second to load the mapping portion. I'm used to it by now, still waiting on my new computer since I just ordered it. But even when you have larger data sets and you're trying to bring it into the 3D mapping part, it does take a moment. This one, obviously, we only have 11 rows of data that we're bringing in, so it should display fairly quickly once it is open. But that's the notorious part of having an older computer, especially my desktop. It takes a bit longer for everything to spin up. And keep in mind when you do open and create a 3D map in Excel, if you save it as a workbook, that map stays with it as well. So anyone else that you were to send this workbook to would be able to open up that 3D map and see anything that you did create. So it is handy that way of once you have made it and got it to a position that you do like, you can go ahead and share it that way. All right, so it picked up the address field and it knows it as the street. It picked it up the full part. So if I zoom in, the key parts I always do flat map, add some labels so I can see what I'm looking at. And I'm just going to zoom in to Chattanooga. And you can see now in Chattanooga where these did occur. So we had 11 different incidents. I could have added a number to it to where it numbered each one. So if I went back into my data set, and I hate actually the fact that it does this, but it's a nice reminder that you did generate a map. Oops, I didn't want to delete all my whole data set, just that image. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Still highlighted, but now if I come back into my map and hit refresh data, it's not going to pick up that I have a number attached to each one, so it can display that if I would like it to. So right now it shows the full address. If I were to click on one of these cards, it gives me the option to add other fields to it. They have different templates that you can pick from. All of this is based on that spreadsheet or that sheet that you had with information in it. So you can add different fields to it, the date, the gun, the range. I didn't fully pull in my full data that I added with the number at the end. For now, that's fine. But if I got into just wanting to display the gun number, we can actually show that as the sum. It's always going to be the same there. The cool part is if we add the time, we have the date. So once I select that as the time, and if I were to hit play, you can see it's going through. It takes a bit of time with it. You can switch this in terms of how you display a date, how long it is. So if you want it to pop up really quick, if you want to go really slow, you have that ability within it. So if I change it to 4 seconds, don't want an effect at this point, trim it down, hit play. It's going to pop up at a bit different speed. It's still not that quick though at 4 seconds. 4 seconds has already passed. Oh, I didn't hit change. That's probably why. So let's see if we did 5 seconds. We can do a circle, and this is where we've done it before in other videos. You can change your map type if you really wanted to, if you had a custom one. Still been playing around with that if you had images and wanted to put XY coordinates over it, or change to an active scene background. I don't do that as much, but if we were to hit play now, still somewhat, there we go, it's picking up a little, but it still goes day by day. So if we change that by month and displayed it that way, it gives you the ability to play around with it, but not a bad way to see the use of a firearm in Chattanooga. You can see that it's not all in the same neighborhood. We have obviously some in between the interstates, and if you're familiar with Chattanooga, some of these areas do have quite a bit. And the downside is that I didn't upload it. You can show a boundary, but it's not as easy to see. But you can see where this gun is moving to within the city over time. This one was the course of 8 months of how it was used over time. You can always pull it back to see how that does display, but you can display the information within multiple different types. If you want to add annotation to it to where it pops out, this is where you can change if you want the date to come out off to the side to it. You're good with that. If you want to add an image, this is where, if you know the gun type, if you had the specific make and model, which we do on these, you can show that there, or if you have some other image type that you want to display in it, it gives you the ability to add that in. Pretty cool. For now, I'm not going to get into that. When the intern creates the how-to with screenshots and all that, we'll get into how to do some of this customization, because it is pretty cool. Not a lot of people know what all can be done. I have to give credit for the IACA conference. A gentleman from Ecuador, I'm blanking on his name right now, did show me, after I did my little workshop, how to do essentially the gun movement that he had done with some images. So that gave me the idea of using our Chattanooga data for this as well. So if you clicked OK, you would have these pop out, and again, you can change the image of it, and you can add it to all of them, one of them, doesn't matter. It just gives you that ability to look and play with the data itself. With that quick how-to video on how to create this, you can create the video, you can save it with all of that. If you wanted to change the theme, it's not as good in dark scale when I've looked at it given your limited options, but you do have the ability, if you wanted to change the bars, if you wanted to actually have them height-wise or anything with that, you can do all of the same parts. If it's the same number, they're still all going to be the same height. You could do a change of it by the chance if you have the same address or anything with that, it does shift. But again, if you had multiple crime types by address, you could look at it that way, and kind of the change of fatal to non-fatal, which would be a good way to look at it. Certain types of gain would be a nice one built on the height associated with each use or anything with that. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Not a bad little video trying to recreate what one of the interns did, given I've never tried to display data in the same fashion, but it is pretty handy to know where guns are moving and how they're being used in multiple crimes. Until next time, take care.